You know, when you picture the front lines of a massive cybersecurity battle, you probably imagine a scene straight out of a movie.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you picture a dark room, glowing green code reflecting off some hacker's glasses. Maybe there's I don't know, a dramatic countdown clock flashing on a giant monitor while someone furiously types on a keyboard.
Oh, totally. The classic Hollywood hacker aesthetic. It's high tech, it's highly visual, and, well, it's completely divorced from the reality of how these breaches actually happen today.
Exactly. But what if I told you the real front line looks entirely different? Like, what if it looks like the front desk of your local dental office at, say, 9 a.m. on a Tuesday?
Oh, that's a very different picture.
Right. Picture it. The phones are ringing off the hook, a patient is standing there frustrated about some confusing billing error,
Mm.
and the hygienist is waving from the hallway because they need to check a schedule, and the office manager is just trying to process an invoice before they even get their first cup of coffee.
Mm.
It is just pure, high-speed, high-trust chaos.
Which is the perfect storm, really.
It is. And welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a really fascinating internal training document and blog created by a company called Mila, and it's specifically designed for dental practices.
Yeah, the material is titled Human Risk in the Age of AI.
Right, and our mission today is to use this busy, high-stakes microcosm of a dental clinic as like a magnifying glass to understand something much bigger. We're going to explore how generative AI is fundamentally mutating the mechanics of human risk and deception.
Mutating is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to see how it's changing the rules of the game for you and, your own personal data.
It's just a brilliant setting to examine this issue. Because a dental office is an environment that runs entirely on two things: implicit trust and rapid communication.
Totally.
And what this training material captures so well is the misconception that artificial intelligence is somehow going to, I don't know, replace the human element in cybersecurity.
Like robots fighting robots.
Exactly, but it's actually the opposite. AI puts the human element under unprecedented pressure. We are moving from an era where technology primarily attacked other technology, like trying to crack passwords or break through firewalls, to an era where technology is specifically engineered to attack human psychology.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the first major shift we need to look at is how the visual markers of a scam, like the things we've relied on for decades, have essentially just vanished overnight.
Vanished. Yeah.
For the last 20 years, you and I and everyone listening, we were all given the exact same cybersecurity advice. Look for the bad grammar, look for the weird typos, look for the strange phrasing.
Right, the classic Nigerian prince era of scams.
Yes.
Those emails were riddled with errors, often intentionally, by the way, to filter out skeptical people and find the most gullible targets.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, or they were written by attackers who simply didn't speak the language natively. So there was a massive amount of friction involved in crafting a convincing, localized lie.
The typos were the ultimate tell. But now we have this chilling, incredibly mundane example from the Mila text. So imagine that busy dental team member at the front desk gets an email. It looks perfectly formatted. It appears to come directly from the dentist who owns the practice. And it's just asking for a quick change to payroll information or maybe paying a vendor.
Sounds completely normal.
Right. The wording is completely natural. The email signature is flawless. There are zero spelling mistakes. Nothing feels obviously wrong. It's like the scammers used to wear cheap plastic masks that you could spot from a mile away, and now they've suddenly hired top-tier Hollywood makeup artists to create these hyper-realistic disguises.
That's a great analogy. And what's fascinating here is how the underlying technology of large language models, or LLMs, enables this perfection at a totally unprecedented scale.
Right.
The text references an assessment from the UK National Cybersecurity Center, and they project that AI is going to massively increase both the volume and the impact of cyber attacks, specifically a tactic called social engineering.
Which is what... Exactly.
That's the art of manipulating people into willingly giving up confidential information or transferring funds.
Okay.
And the reason for this projected spike is that generative AI completely erases the poor grammar, the awkward phrasing, and the weird formatting that served as our societal early warning system.
Right. The friction is gone.
Exactly. The friction of creating that convincing lie is just gone. An attacker can generate 10,000 perfectly localized, grammatically flawless emails in seconds.
Wait. If our entire defensive playbook as a society was built on the advice to look for obvious mistakes, how is any human supposed to catch this? Like, if there's no typo to spot, if the grammar is literally better than what my own boss usually writes, what on earth are we looking for?
That is the core tension of the AI age. The markers of deception are no longer visual because it's not just that the AI-generated emails look better, it's that the AI can instantly analyze vast amounts of data to understand context.
Context. Like how?
Well, it can be fed examples of how a specific dentist talks to their office manager. It understands the terse tone of a hurried morning message versus, say, a friendly end-of-day wrap-up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it doesn't just fix spelling, it synthesizes normalcy.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the text moves beyond how scammers have perfected the look of their attacks to how they've perfected the targeting of them, they are weaponizing our real public social relationships.
It's true.
Think about the digital footprint of a modern business, even a small dental practice. You do a quick scroll through their website bio page, a LinkedIn post congratulating a team member on a work anniversary,
Right.
a 5-star Google review mentioning a specific hygienist by name, or a Facebook photo from a recent dental conference.
And all of that is public data. Historically, an attacker would have to manually read through all of that to craft a targeted attack. And that takes time.
Right, it's tedious.
Exactly. But now, an AI scraper can ingest that entire digital footprint instantly and weave those specific true details into a hyper-personalized message. It turns public relations into a vulnerability.
There's this brilliant quote in the material that sums this evolution up so perfectly. It says, cybersecurity, now with fewer hoodies and more calendar invites.
I love that quote. It perfectly captures the mundane nature of modern threats. And if we look at the psychology behind this, the danger isn't that every single AI scam is going to be some flawless Ocean's 11 style masterpiece.
No.
No, the attacker doesn't need to craft a masterpiece. The danger is that AI allows scammers to easily generate fake messages that just feel familiar. A fake invoice that happens to mention the actual dental supplier the office uses for gloves and masks.
Or a fake email referencing a real continuing education event the dentist checked into on social media yesterday.
Exactly. It just blends seamlessly into the background noise of a chaotic workday.
That is wild.
That is the entire strategy. It just has to be good enough to interrupt a busy person at the exact wrong moment. Let's go back to that front desk receptionist juggling a patient emergency and a ringing phone.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
When human beings are placed under heavy cognitive load, when we are rushed or stressed, our brains rely on heuristics. These are mental shortcuts.
Right.
We stop analyzing every detail and start looking for familiar patterns. If we see a familiar vendor name or a familiar event, our default reflex is to trust it so we can quickly process the information and move on to the next burning fire.
Just to clear the desk.
Precisely. And AI is mathematically engineered to exploit that exact psychological reflex.
I want to map this directly to the listener for a second because you don't have to be running a medical practice to experience this.
Not at all.
This is the exact same dynamic as when you get a frantic text message that looks like it's from your kid's school. Or a sudden Venmo request from someone using your best friend's photo and referencing a restaurant you actually ate at last week.
Yeah, it's the exact same mechanism.
The AI is doing the heavy lifting to find those familiar details. So my question is, are we just uniquely vulnerable creatures? Is the threat the sophistication of the technology itself? Or is the threat just our own evolutionary biology, like our reflex to trust a familiar voice or name when we're stressed out?
It's really the intersection of the two. The AI is the lever, but human psychology is the fulcrum.
That makes sense.
The technology is incredibly sophisticated, but its ultimate goal isn't to outsmart a computer. Its goal is simply to create enough familiarity to bypass your critical thinking. It creates a false sense of safety. And ironically, that false sense of safety brings us to a completely different type of vulnerability.
Right, because up to this point, we've been talking about external attackers using AI to trick us. But the Mila material takes a really fascinating turn here.
It does.
It highlights what happens when the call is coming from inside the house. What happens when that overwhelmed, busy team decides to use these exact same AI tools to do their own jobs faster? We literally start tricking ourselves.
Yeah. Yes. This is a massive and frequently overlooked internal threat surface. We focus so much on the hackers outside the gates, we ignore the tools we are bringing inside the gates.
I love the practical scenario the text uses for this. So picture that same busy dental team member. They have a massive, complicated patient health history in front of them, maybe 10 pages of notes from different specialists, and they just want a quick, bulleted summary before the patient sits in the chair.
Totally understandable.
Very relatable. So in an effort to be efficient, They casually copy and paste all that sensitive medical data into a public generative AI tool like ChatGPT.
Oh, boy.
Right. They hit enter, get their summary, and feel like they just saved 20 minutes. But they are completely unaware of where that data actually goes. It's like hiring a brilliantly fast intern to organize all your private filing cabinets, but you forget to ask if that intern is secretly broadcasting everything they read to a global audience.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that intern analogy is spot on, and it exposes two distinct critical risks.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is data privacy. When you paste patient-identifiable information into a public, consumer-grade generative AI model, you are essentially transmitting that data outside the secure, compliant perimeter of your healthcare practice. Yeah. The company hosting that AI model might retain those prompts to train future iterations of their software. The privacy breach happens the very moment you hit enter.
Okay, and the second threat?
The second threat is arguably even more dangerous in a clinical setting, and it has to do with the actual mechanics of how these AI models generate text.
You're talking about the accuracy of the summary itself.
Yeah.
The document mentions this term, confabulation.
Yes, confabulation, and it's a vital concept to understand. The text cites warnings from NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They specifically warn about AI confabulation.
I usually hear people call that a hallucination.
Exactly. In popular media, you often hear this referred to as AI hallucinations, but confabulation is a much more precise term. It describes a situation where an AI produces information that is confidently stated, totally plausible, but entirely false.
So it's not just making a simple mistake. It's lying with extreme confidence.
Yes.
But why does it do that? Does it just have bad information in its database?
It's deeper than that. An AI doesn't have a database of facts that it references the way you or I would look up a word in a dictionary. An LLM doesn't actually know anything.
Really?
Yeah. It is essentially a highly complex predictive engine. It analyzes the prompt you give it, and it mathematically calculates the most statistically likely next word, and then the next word, and so on.
That's wild.
Think of it like a wildly overconfident improvisational actor whose only rule is never stop talking. It is fundamentally designed to sound plausible and complete the pattern, not necessarily to be factual.
Okay, so in a healthcare setting where patient records, medication lists, and treatment plans require absolute zero margin of error accuracy, trusting an AI's confident tone is a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely.
Like if that fast intern summarizes a complex medical history and mathematically predicts that a sentence flows better by omitting a severe penicillin allergy.
Then the consequences transcend the digital world and become physical. You have a patient in the chair receiving the wrong medication because an algorithm predicted that a different word was statistically more likely in that sentence structure.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The AI shouldn't ever become the final authority for sensitive decisions. It is a tool for drafting and brainstorming, not an expert oracle.
Okay, let me pause and summarize the sheer weight of what we're dealing with here. Because we're living in a reality where we can no longer trust our eyes to spot obvious typos from external scammers.
Nope.
We can't trust an email just because it mentions a real supplier or an event from our calendar. And we can't even trust the confident, incredibly helpful answers coming from the AI tools we decide to use internally.
It sounds pretty rough when you lay it out like that.
It sounds completely bleak. I feel like the only solution is to unplug the router and move to the woods.
I think we've all felt that way.
But, thankfully, the Mila training document doesn't just leave us in a state of panic. It moves from identifying this massive problem to outlining a behavioral solution. We literally have to rewrite the human rule book.
We do, because you can't solve a psychological vulnerability with just a software patch. You can't just stand in front of your employees and yell, "Be more careful."
Right. Everyone is already trying to be careful.
Exactly. You have to give them a systematic, repeatable framework to handle this new reality.
And the source material introduces a new golden rule for the AI age, which I want to highlight because of how elegant it is. It's trust the relationship, verify the request.
It's perfect.
I also want to read a specific piece of advice straight from the text because it applies to literally everyone listening to this. It says, a checklist beats a heroic guess, especially before coffee.
It's fantastic advice because it acknowledges human fallibility. We are all terrible guessers before coffee.
Amen to that.
And the document operationalizes this concept using what Mila calls the SAFE framework. The overarching goal of SAFE is vital to understand. You do not want to create an office environment where everyone is suddenly suspicious of everyone else.
Right.
You don't want a team paralyzed by paranoia, questioning every single interaction. You want to make verification a totally normal, boring, everyday habit.
Right. It needs to have a standard operating procedure, not a blaring siren emergency response.
Yeah.
So break down that SAFE acronym for us. How does it actually work in practice?
Sure. So it stands for slow down, assess the request, find a trusted verification path, and escalate.
Okay.
Slow down is step one, and ironically, it's the hardest part. Every scam, especially AI-powered ones, is engineered to create a sense of artificial urgency.
Sure.
They want you to act before you think.
Got it. And the next one?
Assess the request means looking beyond the perfect spelling and evaluating the nature of the action. Like, is this an unusual request for a wire transfer? Is it a sudden change in payroll destination? Is it an urgent demand for a password?
Okay, I follow that. But what about the third step? Find a trusted verification path.
That is the core behavioral shift. If you receive a perfectly written, totally normal-looking email asking for a change in banking details, you do not reply to that email to ask if it's real.
Because the attacker controls that email account.
Exactly. The attacker controls that channel. You have to change the channel of communication. You pick up the phone and call the vendor or the employee using a known trusted phone number that you already have on file.
I see.
You verify the request outside of the medium where the request was made. And finally, escalate means having a clear, well-understood path to report the incident so the rest of the team can be warned.
I have to push back on this a little bit, bringing it back to our dental office example.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm thinking about that stressed front desk worker. The phones are ringing. There's a line of annoyed patients. Establishing a strict pause and verify rule. Physically picking up the phone to call a supplier to confirm an invoice, or calling the boss to confirm a payroll change instead of just rapidly processing it to clear your desk.
Mm-hmm.
How do you implement that without making a busy team feel like they're providing terrible, slow customer service? In a service environment or in healthcare, speed almost always feels like a proxy for good care.
Oh, absolutely. That is the exact friction point every single organization faces when implementing security. And it's why leadership communication is so critical.
How so?
The text highlights a profound philosophical shift that has to happen from the top down. Leadership has to explicitly tell their team, a pause is not a lack of service. It is part of protecting our patients and our practice.
Wow.
That framing changes everything. It turns verification from an annoying bureaucratic hurdle into an active protective measure.
It rebrands the delay. Like the delay isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature of a secure practice.
Exactly that. But for that rebranding to actually work, leadership has to back it up when mistakes inevitably happen. The document heavily emphasizes the importance of a no-blame reporting culture.
That makes sense.
The psychology of shame in cybersecurity is fascinating and destructive. If an employee clicks a bad link or realizes with horror that they just wired money to a fake AI-generated invoice, their immediate gut instinct is often shame and fear.
Because they're terrified. They're going to get fired on the spot, so they try to hide it.
And that is the worst possible outcome.
Yeah.
Shame slows people down. In cyber incident response, time is your absolute biggest enemy. Fast reporting drastically reduces harm.
Right.
If the office culture is one of punishment, the malware spreads across the network while the employee quietly tries to cover their tracks or figure out how to undo it.
That's a nightmare.
But if the culture is explicitly no blame, they raise their hand the second it happens, the IT team isolates that specific computer, and the damage is contained immediately.
That makes total sense. Culture is the first line of defense. But does the document offer any technical safety nets? Like, we can't just rely entirely on people never making a mistake, right?
No, you absolutely need layers of defense. The text specifically highlights multi-factor authentication, or MFA, as the critical technical safety net.
That's the thing where you type your password and then it texts you a 6-digit code, or you have to tap an app on your phone to approve the login.
Yes. And the reason MFA is so crucial in the age of AI is that it fundamentally changes what the attacker needs to succeed.
How does it change it?
Well, even if a generative AI writes a masterpiece of a phishing email and it perfectly manipulates human psychology and the employee hands over their password, the attacker still cannot access the system.
Oh, because they don't have the phone?
Precisely. They have the knowledge factor, the password, but they don't have the possession factor, the physical smartphone in the employee's pocket receiving that secondary code. MFA doesn't stop the AI from tricking you, but it acts as a concrete wall preventing the trick from turning into a breach.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive talking about the stereotypical Hollywood hacker in a dark room, and we've ended up talking about the psychology of cognitive load, the danger of shame in office culture, and the importance of taking a breath before paying an invoice.
Quite a journey.
Truly. For years, there's been this famous, almost tired cliche in the tech world that humans are the weakest link in cybersecurity. But looking at this Mila document, it feels like it fundamentally challenges that idea.
It absolutely does.
Yes, humans are the ones who get tricked by heuristics. But humans are also the only ones who can notice strange behavioral patterns. We're the ones who ask smart questions when a request feels slightly out of character. Ultimately, humans are the ones protecting the patients.
I think that's the most empowering takeaway from all this material. The narrative that we are just helpless victims of technology is false. Yes, AI smooths out the visual edges of deception. It scales familiarity, which raises the stakes tremendously.
Huge stakes.
But ironically, by making the technology so incredibly good at mimicking reality, it forces a paradigm shift. It makes human judgment, intuition, and critical thinking more important, not less. We can no longer rely on spam filters and software to catch every perfect replica.
Right.
The strongest defense your organization has isn't a more expensive firewall. It's a trained team equipped with a shared language, clear procedures, and most importantly, the explicit permission from leadership to pause.
Permission to pause. That is a powerful concept.
Yeah.
And that brings us right back to you listening to this deep dive right now. We used a bustling dental office as our lens today because it perfectly illustrates how high-speed, high-trust environments create unique vulnerabilities.
Definitely.
But you don't need to be running a medical practice to be in the crosshairs. The exact same AI tools that make a fake vendor invoice look flawless are the tools that can clone a voice from a 3-second TikTok clip or personalize a text message using your family's public social media.
It's all the same underlying tech.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to mull over. AI has essentially commoditized trust signals. A familiar tone of voice, a perfectly written sentence, a reference to an inside joke. Those are just signals, and AI can fake them perfectly now. So how might you need to redesign the verification rules in your own personal life? Have you established a trusted channel with your aging parents, your kids, or your partner? Like if you get a frantic phone call tomorrow that sounds exactly like your teenager begging for money, do you have a pre-agreed upon safe word?
That's a great question to ask.
The dark room with the glowing green code is a myth. The real front line of cybersecurity is right there in your pocket, in your inbox, and in your relationships. It's time to stop trusting the signal and start verifying the channel.